Did you know that there's a difference between stretching versus moving? If not, let's talk about that. Welcome back. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Anjali Agrawal, the founder of Back in Balance. I really love helping families navigate stress, manage stress as they navigate the journey from preconception to pregnancy to parenthood, because there can be a lot of stress involved. Really, it's about helping you to understand what is the connection between structure and function, how they play together, and what that really means for your health and wellness, and what you can do about it so that you can take control over your own health and wellness journey. Let's dive in. So, as a chiropractor, one of the things is we're looking at how well is your spine moving, right? How well are the vertebrae moving in your spine? How well are the joints moving in your body? What is the range of motion like? What are the muscles that are connecting to that? The ligaments? What does that all feel like? Because that can all impact how well you move in general. But let's talk about what happens for most of us, right? The reality is that a large percentage of us are living our life with life in front of us. And so let's say that means you get up, you brush your teeth, you preparing your breakfast, lunch, whatever meals for the day maybe. It's all in front of you here. You are maybe working on your phone, tablet, laptop, computer, whatever that might look like. That's in front of you as well. And so you get to work, whatever your day might look like. If you're sitting in front of a computer, if you are driving, if whatever that is, it's all in front of us. And then you do that all day long, rinse and repeat as the evening process happens, go to sleep. And most people want to sleep curled up like this, right? It kind of in the position, because that is what the muscles are comfortable with. That's what they're familiar with all day long. They've been getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And then you go home and you want to sleep like this, right? Have you ever seen a baby sleep? How do babies sleep? If they're not swaddled, how do they sleep? They sleep with their arms completely stretched out, and they were just in the fetal position more recently than we were as adults, right? Yet they don't sleep in the fetal position. They sleep with their arms completely stretched out. And why is that? So, because their muscles are so relaxed, right? They don't have the years of programming of getting contracted and shortened and living in this state. So, their muscles are completely relaxed where it feels very comfortable for them to sleep with their arms completely stretched out. I don't know about you, but I don't think most adults sleep like that. Most teenagers, we don't sleep like this anymore because now our muscles have gotten conditioned. So, when we talk about structure, there is a difference between the types of fibers that we have in our muscles, right? We have slow twitch fibers and fast twitch fibers that allow us to move into action quickly and then sustain movement. Like if you're doing a marathon or some kind of endurance activity, there are different types of fibers that are getting activated for different types of movement. Now, let's talk about our typical day to day. If you're not a pro athlete, or if you're, sitting in front of the computer, if you're driving or working, writing, whatever that might look like, how often do you take a stretch break, and how often do you take a movement break in your day? So most of my practice members, when they come in, for the average person who, again, is not an athlete or a personal trainer, they might not have a lot of movement or stretching built into the course of the day, but at best, it might be reserved for 30, maybe 45, 60 minutes of dedicated time for yoga, general stretching, or Pilates, or something like that, or a workout. And there's a big difference between stretching and movement. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's say you are working, your muscles are getting contracted, you're trying to read what's on the screen, particularly after lunch or right before lunch. You're getting tired, you have to figure out what's on the screen, your head comes forward, your whole body kind of droops forward, slouches forward, and everything is getting shortened and contracted here. Now, you might get up, get a cup of coffee, get some water, whatever that might look like, and that is movement. Yes, you are getting up, you're reaching for a cup of coffee, cup of water, whatever that might look like. You might go use the restroom, come back, and then you go back into that position. So movement is really helpful. We definitely want to have movement, but we also want to have stretching. So this also comes into play for those of you who are actively working out, right? If you're doing strength training, it is equally important, and I would even argue perhaps more important, to allow your body stretch time in addition to your strengthening time. It can't all just be strength training, because when we are doing that, we are expanding the muscle as we are going through our movements, but then we're contracting the muscle as we get done with the movement. And if done like that, without the stretching component of it on a consistent basis, or sitting in front of the computer or whatever your day-to-day activities look like, if all of that is focused on strength training or just exclusively on movement, then what happens is over time, those muscles get shorter and shorter and shorter. And yes, they will elongate again and expand again to some degree as you rest and the protein in your body allows repair of the cells. There will be some elongation, but over time, that gradually becomes shorter and shorter. And so many people, when they come in as my initial practice members, they'll talk about like, oh, I used to be way more flexible. I used to have way more range of motion. And now this is my life. I can barely touch my toes when I bend forward, or this is, I haven't been flexible for a really long time. So if we can break up that cycle of movement by incorporating stretching, ideally once every 45 to 90 minutes, so I say once an hour, if you can change your posture. So if you've been sitting, ideally stand up. If you've been standing, ideally sit down. If you've been moving, take pause, whether that means sitting or standing, just stop for a moment and ideally do a stretch for 30 seconds on each side if it's a bilateral stretch. We have a ton of stretch video options for you on YouTube. So please take a look and try to incorporate at least one stretch. If there's an area of your body that tends to feel tight, like you get up in the morning and you're like, oh, my neck just feels tight, or my shoulders or my low back, whatever region of the body that tends to feel tighter for you, I would start with stretches for that area. If you have a couple minutes or 5 minutes, you can go through a little bit more stretches, but I would at least pick one stretch to do once an hour. And that might sound like crazy talk, but if you can shift that body's muscle memory patterns and that muscle contraction pattern once an hour, you actually have a lot more effective results from that, rather than doing 30 to 60 minutes of yoga or stretching or exercise. Not saying that any of those are bad. Those are all really, really good things to do. But if you're relying on that 30 to 60-minute stretch of time to undo 6, 8, 10, 12 hours of something else, that's pretty physiologically impossible, or very challenging at the least. And so if we can break up that cycle throughout the day, you actually get way more bang for your buck. It's not time intensive at all. 1 minute a day. If you really can't change your posture, you're sitting in a meeting or whatever, like you really can't change your posture, we have stretches for you to do while you're seated still, while you're standing still. If you can't change your posture, at least incorporate more stretching, and that will help amplify your movement even more. I hope you found that informative. I'd love for you to drop in the comments below what is your favorite stretch to do. And if you found any stretches on our YouTube channel to be helpful for you, I would love to get your feedback and hear your thoughts on that. So please comment below, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.